What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another live episode of Post-Podium Conversations. We are doing this one live, but this will be the last public live. So, what you need to do from here on out is you need to get that membership. Okay, with that membership, you get a month free. It's only $1.99. You're not even gonna feel it, right? But what that gives you access to is not just this show, but all of the other, Madden content that we got coming. There's already content there. You get access to the Discord chat. So much stuff that makes this worth your time and your effort. So with that being said, let's dive right in. Got a few things that I wanted to touch base on today, and I want to try to get this done. I don't want to take all day. I want to take your whole Saturday up. Weston, what's going on? What's going on, June? What's up? Basketball Truth and Knowledge in the building. Look, let's start here. There's some insider information that I came across throughout the week. Excuse me, as early as Tuesday that I wanted to get to you guys. So we're gonna start with Terry Gray. Okay, the last episode that we did of Postpodium Podcast, we did some research on Terry Gray and kind of looked into his background and how he drafts and his draft preferences and things like that. And I kind of left that conversation feeling like maybe a full clean out of the scouting staff is going to be necessary. And the reason I say that is because I don't see continuity being the thing that gets this team through to the end of where they want to be, right? And I don't mean that to sound pessimistic. I mean that to just solely be a judgment of the front office based on what they've done. Okay, so I don't want this to be taken as you're counting them out before they even try. No, as soon as they put the ball down on Sunday, September, I think is 9th or whatever it is, I'm game. Let's win. Let's get to the Super Bowl. Let's get it done. Win the Super Bowl, right? In the meantime, though, I came across some information on Terry Gray, and this is from somebody that I know that's connected to the team. And basically, with Terry Gray being being a finalist for the Vikings job, he is now in position currently to either take over the Cardinals, Commanders, and there's one other team that I'm still trying to reach out to because I was told 3, but I'm trying to find out what that third team is. But for now, the Cardinals and the Commanders are the primary spots that are set to go after Terry Gray after this season if they don't retain who they have in office. And I know for a fact that the Cardinals general manager has been under major fire, especially with the firing of the head coach last year. I think I remember talking about this on the podcast that their fans were upset that they fired their head coach and they didn't fire the guy that was responsible for picking the players that coach had to deal with. So it's not just us Bills fans that are having these criticisms over, hey, I understand you firing the coach, but the coach is not responsible for picking the players, right? And, we brought that out before. I don't really need to go into too much detail on that, but there you have it, right? So let me know what you think in the chat about, Terry Gray taking a position elsewhere and that possibly opening things up for another, prominent scout in our organization to kind of come in. And who do you think that might be if you know who the staff is? If you don't, would you want the Bills to go, outside of the organization, which I personally don't think is likely? Or do you think that they hire from within, which is shown to be something that they do typically do? And who you think that would be? Again, if you know the staff, if you don't bother guessing. So let's move on to this. Dorothy was in the Discord chat asking me about my thoughts on the Pete Carmichael presser. I get kind of, I don't know. I get a little irritated when we hear from Pete Carmichael in general, because has he called plays before? Yes. Has he? Oh, I'm starting to like skip a little. I'm using a laptop instead of my normal desktop. Has Pete Carmichael called plays? Yes. Has he been successful? Yes. But I do think that there's something to be said about the fact that he's never been hired as an offensive coordinator outside of the people that he's worked with before, right? And I'm not saying he's never been an offensive coordinator anywhere. I'm just saying in the NFL, it's either been Sean Payton or somebody from his tree. And this is not to diminish his ability to game plan or anything like that, but when you listen to that press conference, my initial thought was, what are we really going to get from anything he says? I don't think there's anything to be gleaned from a good idea of what that's going to be anyway. He hasn't even cracked his potential. You talking about Pete Carmichael? Or you talking about Deone Walker? So anyway, yeah, Pete Carmichael, I think is one of those glue guys that is very good at maintaining the kind of order that Sean Payton wanted, and now Joe Brady wants. And I do think that okay, Walker. Well, wait till I get to that news because that's gonna trip you out. So back to Carmichael, I like the idea that he's a stabilizing factor in the room, in the offensive room for everybody that's there. He's been around the league a very long time. He seems to be a very good communicator, very articulate, which helps because there's a lot of times like I'm watching all kinds of content on YouTube and stuff like that. Not everybody is very good at articulating exactly what they mean. Not everybody is very good at making sure that when they speak in a way that makes it easy for the person they're talking to comprehend and interpret properly in the way that they understand. And based on what I've seen and heard about Carmichael, he's very good at that. And I think that's what Joe Brady needs the most, which is why this hiring makes the most sense. Because if Brady is going to be calling the plays, the one thing that's going to allow him to really be a head coach that calls plays, but not have to be an offensive coordinator and a head coach, is a guy that can do exactly what Pete Carmichael is doing. So with respect to that, please don't, make any bones about what this man says. I mean, he's really, he's there to do a job, and this isn't a traditional offensive coordinator position for him. This is a, he would be the, I don't know, how would you call it? So if he worked at a prison, he would be, the deputy warden or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Where like he's not really doing much other than enforcing what the actual warden wants in place. He's not creating anything new. He's not deciding anything new. He's just interpreting from one point of the line of communication, which is the head coach, to the end of that line of communication, which is the players, right? Because it's got to go from the head coach to the position coaches to the players. And Pete Carmichael does that better than most coaches, especially when it comes to installing cultural things too, right? So one thing that I did think is kind of came across in that presser is this offense. What's here is already here. Let me back up and say that again. What has been here in the past 3 years, I'll say 2.5, if you want to go for accuracy's sake. Accuracies, he had to come in. I apologize for these. I didn't even put 4K on. I have no idea why it's doing this, but bear with me. When you listen to what he said specifically about him having to learn the language, right? He's had to come in and pick up the language that they're already using. So if that's the case, what does that mean? Well, that means the that they've been using relative to the offensive calls, the play designs, and what those, you know, route combinations are called, all that stuff. He's got to come in and pick up on that language, which tells me a lot of what Brady has been doing is really not going to change that much. It just may have more of a Joe Brady flair on it, as opposed to the Sean McDermott flair that the offense had on it, you know, prior. Now, what does that mean? Well, if we're thinking this through and we're processing this, you know, in its entirety, I don't think we should expect the tunnel screens to go away. And you know, for those of you that have been smart this whole time, I don't think you do expect the tunnel screens to go anywhere. But that also means I don't think this team is really going to be as, you know, pass heavy as even I wanted them to go. You may see a slight increase. You may see, you know, bouts in games where it's necessitated that they pass more. But I think at the end of the season, when you look at the numbers, it's probably not going to be too far off from that, you know, run heavy. They may go, you know, 52-48 pass, or 51-49 pass, or 50-50 if they can swing it, you know. But I do think what Brady's learned over the years, just seeing how he calls plays and how he has called plays before, I think the one thing that Sean McDermott kind of drilled into him is doing the safe, consistent things that ensure success is better than taking chances, right? I think part of the reason why I take that away from, you know, what I believe that he's learned based on what he's done is when you look at the hiring of Jim Leonhard, I can't think of any other defensive coordinator that would have been less of a risk and I would say as high of a reward. I can't think of any other defensive coordinator that he could have hired from anywhere else that would have been as low of a risk and as high of a reward as Jim Leonhard was, right? Hopefully I said that right the first time. If I didn't, I apologize. But what I mean by that is Jim Leonhard and the reputation that he had and what he's done in his career, everybody knew that he was coming in here with an ability to really show what he can do and really create some change, you know, on this team that we've been waiting to see for many years. And I just don't know how many other defensive coordinators would have been able to come in with that expectation with the players we have. Now, again, none of this is to disrespect any of the players that we have or the players we've drafted or whatever the case is. But I think that there is a trend that we've talked about many times that Brandon Beane likes to go after. And I even watched Brandon Beane on One Bills Live today. And he was asked about what he thinks about what he saw in the minicamp, right? And I'm sorry, not minicamp, the OTAs. And he specifically, you know, started talking about how he doesn't want to pigeonhole guys into 4-eye or, quote, this specific nose. Then he goes on to say, quote, let's just find good football players and we'll get them in the right spots. Okay. This again reinforces that thought process of he's got a type and he wants his coaches to be able to just take the guys he drafts and make it work, because his system is not going to change. The way that he signs players, the way that he structures the cap, the way that he disseminates you know, the money and, you know, roster positions, he's not going to change. So what needs to change around him is he needs to get guys that are going to be on program, on board with whatever he's doing, and they're going to use whatever guys he puts on that green grass and get them to do what's necessary to win games with Josh Allen right now. Okay. So when you combine that with what we know about Jim Leonard and kind of seeing that Jim Leonard can do a lot of different things defensively and has been one of these guys that are considered to be, flexible in his ability to coach defense. He's done 3-4, he's done 4-3, he's played in 4-3 and 3-4. So he would be one of those guys that you look at that is low risk, high reward. I got to tell you, this hiring looks more like a Brandon Beane hire than it does a Joe Brady hire. And with what the hierarchy is in Buffalo right now, it would not surprise me at all if Joe Brady had input on who he hired and fired, but not final say to that degree where I'm just going to hire whoever I want, right? Because again, we got to keep in mind, culture plays the biggest part in how this team operates. It's part of the reason why Brandon Beane still has his job. We talked about this on Monday. Those of you that saw it, you already know what I'm talking about. But that was really my major thought on the Pete Carmichael presser. Steve says, who else wanted to hire Brady? Nobody. Kubiak, almost everybody that had an opening except maybe for the Giants. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it does. I think this is where it makes me look kind of pessimistic, because I kind of look at things like that too. Jim Leonard and him getting the defensive coordinator position here. Yeah. I mean, that's a great move for him. What other team or what other position was out there for a defensive coordinator that would have been better from a career trajectory standpoint than coming here? Right now, that sounds great when we say it, but why does it sound great? Does it sound great because we just hired Joe Brady, or does it sound great because he gets to coach a defense that Jim Leonard gets to coach a defense powered by the quarterback Josh Allen? And I should say it like this: he gets to coach a defense on a team powered by Josh Allen. I don't want to make it seem like Josh Allen's playing defense, but my point is, there are ways to process the information that give you what the team wants you to have, and you can have that groupthink, you can have that kumbaya, you can do all that kind of stuff, or you can choose to kind of peel some of those layers back and look a little bit deeper and question, why make this decision? Why now? Why, go through this process of doing things that seemingly go in the opposite direction of what the teams that have been winning Super Bowls do? Like that to me is what really makes this easy to question. If we were watching the Buffalo Bills and they had traded away several first round picks and what's going on, Videsh? If we had done what the Rams did and traded away several first round picks and signed OBJ or something like that and didn't make it to a Super Bowl or didn't even get close, then yeah, I'd be like, you know what? We tried doing it their way. It didn't work. But we've seen several teams now load up and go get a bunch of guys and go and win a Super Bowl and worry about the rest later. You saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do it. They gave up everything that they could to go get Tom Brady to bring him in. They let him run his offense after a while. They even got the head coach up out of there because he was getting on Brady's nerves. They promoted him, but they still got him out of Brady's face. Like, they did what it took, and it got them a ring. The Rams did what it took, and it got them a ring. The Eagles draft extremely well, which allows them to have the salary cap space to make moves like trading A.J. Brown. I'm even hearing now that the Eagles are getting ready to make some big-time moves that involve very prominent players on other teams. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to get into names right now. I'm still in the process of confirming. But Uh, it's June 6th, and we're hearing about teams that are getting ready to make moves still. You still got good players out there. Stephon Diggs is still out there. Kayvon Thibodeau is being talked about being traded from the Giants. Alvin Kamara is being talked about being traded. Not that I'm asking for us to trade for Alvin Kamara, but my point is this: we have not seen the Bills do the things that these winning teams do the way that they do it, and still and yet, most fans feel like, well, we don't need to do that because we're us and we're going to win our way. Okay. I mean, if that's what you truly believe in your heart of hearts, go for it. Keep drinking your beers, keep tailgating, keep doing everything that you're doing. And at some point, maybe you'll be like the Knicks and you'll win a championship after 30 some odd years of mediocrity. They've had some good teams. They've had a bunch of teams that I like: Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewell, that whole squad. And they've had some decent teams after that with Carmelo Anthony. But I think at the end of the day, real Knicks fans knew something ain't right about this squad. Something ain't right. And maybe I can get Keys to kind of confirm this. We'll talk. I'll bring this up to him on Monday and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I think that's kind of the same thing that's going on here now with me. Is I've watched this team through the drought to kind of learn how they market themselves to this fan base. I'm gonna post a video. There's a video somebody did on YouTube where it talks about Buffalo and what Buffalo used to be and how Buffalo has kind of been rejuvenating itself and rebuilding itself with all this new development and how Buffalo as a city kind of contradicts itself in a lot of ways, or contradicts the thought on what Buffalo either should have been or should be now. And it gives a very interesting contrast from the standpoint of it's a Eastern Coast city that operates with a Midwest mentality. Now, what does that mean? Midwest mentality typically means, very, slow moving, methodical, doesn't get too high or too low, typically tends to be blue collar, very that sounds like us. When you think Midwest culture, it sounds like Buffalo, but it's an East Coast city, right? And I think when you consider the way that the Buffalo Bills have operated, even the Packers, and I know the Packers are kind of over there a little bit more in the middle, but small market teams in general don't seem to be the teams that make the moves that the Eagles make, or make the moves that the Rams make, or make the moves that even the Chiefs make. I mean, the Chiefs have been so bold as to trade away their best corner and then move up in the draft to get the best corner in the draft. We've only seen the Bills do that one time, and that was for Josh Allen. And as Keys reported, that was because of Joe Shane. That wasn't even because Brandon Beane had it in his mind, like, I'm going to get that guy. And now every time you turn around and hear about Brandon Beane talking, I love Josh, I love Josh. Bro, if it wasn't for Joe Shane, like, where would you be? Where would you be? We got a question here from Steve. Let me pull this up here. It says, here's a question. Excuse me. Here's a question for all those on Beane Island. What defense or offense has succeeded with the prototype of players Beane has drafted consistently, especially in the first 3 rounds? Is this viable? What y'all think? Senke says buffering. All right, here we go. Senke says we are done done in free agency, unfortunately. Hate to say it, but we're still cooked with this front office. Look, I don't want to be in the business of, stomping on the potential of this Bills team. Can they, you know what? Let's do this. Is anybody familiar with the Packers 2011 Amoeba defense? Give me a hands up in the chat if you are, or just say yes in the chat if you are. If you're not, the Packers Amoeba defense was known as a 155 psycho package, and it was designed to cause maximum confusion for opposing offensive lines and quarterbacks. Okay, the basic core concepts of this defense, the formation typically features only one traditional defensive lineman, which would be their down lineman with their hand in the dirt. The psycho front, the remaining 10 defenders mill around and shift formations right up until the snap. They line up in unexpected gaps and stand up rather than getting into traditional three-point stance. Pre-snap confusion, by continuously moving and failing to give clear pre-snap indicators, the defense forces the opposing quarterback and center. Excuse me, I got the microphone right in front of the screen here. The opposing quarterback and center to guess exactly who is blitzing and who is dropping into coverage. From this seemingly chaotic, shapeless front, the defense can rush as many as 6 or 7 defenders, or just drop 8 into zone or man coverage with a 3-man rush. Okay, why it was created? Most offenses rely on the center and quarterback pointing out the mic or the middle linebacker to set blocking assignments. The amoeba looks to distort the numbers, making it incredibly difficult to identify who is blocking who before the before the play clock runs out. The scheme was highly effective for the Packers because it disguised where the pass rush was coming from. Players like Clay Matthews excelled in this system, as they could spy the quarterback, blitz through unpredictable gaps, or drop into coverage at the last second. Okay. Many of you, or I should say many fans hear this aggressive attacking style defense, and this is what they think about. And when you hear the Bills describe what they want to be on defense, it sounds a lot like this. But let me propose this thought. What if this amoeba defense wasn't created out of, great game planning or great thought or great study or anything like that? What if this game plan or this style of defense was created out of necessity? What if this defense was created because the players they had on defense maybe might not have been the way, traditional defense? Okay, I'll give you the players they had in that defense in 2011, and you tell me who the guys that you felt could be depended upon in a major way in that defense, and why it makes sense for them to do what they did. Okay. All right, let me do this. I'm sorry. I want to get to their depth chart, because that's not going to give it to me consistent or fast enough. Let's see. I got a bunch of wild tracks. On my computer. This is fun. Okay. Defense. All right. So they're defensive starters. You ready? Their left defensive end in this system, Ryan Pickett. Anybody know who Ryan Pickett is? He put up no statistics that season. None. BJ Raji. I know who that is. He had 3 sacks and 1 fumble recovery. How about Howard Green? Anybody know who Howard Green is? No? Okay. He put up no stats that season at all. Okay. Clay Matthews. We all know who Clay Matthews is. That year he had 6 sacks, 3 interceptions, no fumble recoveries. Okay. AJ Hawk. Anybody know who AJ Hawk is? AJ Hawk, very good linebacker. Reminded me of a little like a more athletic Paul Posluszny, basically, if you never saw AJ Hawk play. Desmond Bishop. Anybody know Desmond Bishop? 5 sacks, 0 interceptions, no fumbles. How about Eric Walden? He was 26 at the time. 2 sacks, 3 sacks, no interceptions, 1 fumble recovery. Okay. I know you'll know this name, Charles Woodson. Now, in this defense, one of the things that was unique about this defense was Charles Woodson is listed as a cornerback. He played a lot of safety for this team, especially in the playoffs too, right? He had 2 sacks, 7 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery. He was a beast in this defense. He was a playmaker. Him and Clay Matthews and BJ Raji, those 3 players made this defense go, right? The only other guy that I guess you could say there's 2 other guys that kind of lended some help. The secondary was really, what made this thing go, right? Because then you got Tremont Williams, who I thought was a really good corner back then. 4 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery. Then you got the safety, Charlie Peppra. I don't think people really knew him all like that. It wasn't a household name, but he had 5 interceptions. And then Morgan Burnett, who was, I think he was a rookie that year. Yep. 22-year-old rookie, started all 16 games. He had 1 sack, 3 interceptions, and full recovery. Now, the reason I'm going through all this is I'm trying to point out that in 2011 won a Super Bowl, and they did it with an unconventional style of defense that allowed them to just put their best players in the best position possible to I know, Steve, I'm not trying to say we need to run the amoeba defense. I'm getting to my point. The idea of taking the best players that we have and putting them into position to make plays so that the best players we have on defense can kind of just carry things through. That is what you do out of necessity. Okay, now Don Capers was the architect of this defense. He did not run this defense as consistently as he did in 2020 in 2011, the entire time that he was the defensive coordinator of the Packers. And he was with the Packers for, I think, 8 or 9 years. Right? And he didn't do this the entire time. Like, the Packers were not running the defense the entire time. It was that one concentrated year because they had lost so many players in free agency and really were struggling to kind of hold things together on defense, while Aaron Rodgers in the offense pulled them through with Jordy Nelson and Greg Jennings and those guys, right? So I guess the point I'm trying to, really come to here and bring this whole thing to is I want everybody to understand the defense that we're going to see this year is not going to be by design, so to speak. They're going to try to just put the best players in their minds in the best possible position to make plays and kind of carry things through while Josh Allen in the offense gets what they got to get done. Okay. Now, what's interesting about this is the Bills believe, and here's the big news of the day, the Bills believe that Deone Walker is their best defensive lineman. Okay? Here's why I'm saying that. Based on what I've been told, Deone Walker has been involved in conversations about defensive scheme. He's been asked about preferences of who he likes playing around him or playing next to him. He's being included in a lot of the decision making on defense as if he was a fifth-year player. They've told several times they see him as their best defensive lineman. They're treating him as such. Okay? Now, this is good and bad. The good part of this is he's a young up-and-coming player who should have been drafted a lot higher. You should prioritize that guy. The bad part is it almost ensures that Ed Oliver is aware that he's probably not being re-signed after this year, because the Bills don't make it a habit of letting guys get to the final year of their contract and signing them for big money. They'll let players do that and then test free agency and test the waters and see how comfortable they would be going somewhere else. And then you can always come back. We'll give you a little bit more, we'll give you a little bit more than what they would give you, which is really not much according to the market. And Big Sexy is not cap. If you know me, if you watch me for any period of time, if I'm telling you I got this information from the inside, I got it from the inside. You can argue with whoever you want to, argue with your mama, not me. But when it comes to this approach of, what are you saying now? As long as we don't have a D-line like the Eagles, Seahawks, Texans, Denver, Prime, KC, we're never winning a chip. Okay. This is how objective I am, because I can see a way that this Bills team can do it, right? If Sean McDermott was able to figure out that a 3-3-5 put his players in a better position to play defense better, and realistically, you position your defensive line this year to get better play from your linebackers, and then on top of that, you structure everything in a way that allows you to get not just more pressure, but quicker pressure. You could absolutely make a case that this defense will be good enough in the playoffs to put pressure on the quarterbacks that they're going to be playing, right? As much as we have to worry about the Justin Herberts, the Patrick Mahomes, the Joe Burrows, the Lamar Jacksons of the world, there's still a potential for us to get lined up against the Bo Nixes of the world, right? And if you're going against a Bo Nix or a Drake May, who may not be that experienced, the type of defense that we play has the potential to not only fool the quarterback, but to fool the offensive line, which is something that teams have been doing against us for a very long time. So I get what you're saying. And I try not to, discard or discredit the team before we even get started. Do I like the moves that they've made? No. Right? Am I going to say they're cooked already? I can't say that either, right? Big Sexy Bill says, our secondary can only hold up for so long in the backfield if the D-line and linebackers allow opposing quarterbacks to DoorDash a pizza and play a Madden match. 6 playoff losses, 0 pass rush. Right. And I'm with you on that. And I think this defense and the style that they're going to be playing fixes that with simulated pressures and freeing up blitzers, right? So the idea of this defense is similar to the amoeba defense, where you don't really know where that 4th pass rusher is going to be coming from, okay? And in most cases in this defense, you're never going to know where that 5th pass rusher is going to come from, which would be that traditional blitzer, right? And because of that, you're going to be able to create a lot of confusion. So I'm saying all that to say I truly believe this team can make waves on defense, and I think they'll make more big plays. What year were we doing this? Was it? I'm trying to think. Was it 2022? Because I think we had like the number 1 overall defense in 2021. Yeah, we did, and then 2020. 3, I think, was like the worst defense we had before last year, but we were making big plays, so it really wasn't. You know what I mean? Actually, that might have been 2024. I think that was 2024 because that was I think that might have been year 1. Yeah, that was year 1 of Rasul Douglas. That's a prime example, right? That defense was not great at all, but they made plays. They got interceptions. They got, you know, like, and like they got timely plays, fumbles, fumble recoveries, interceptions, things like that kind of shifted the game. And the style of defense they play. I mean, think about the Steelers defenses when you think about the types of coverages and blitzes you're going to see from this defense. Like the idea of the fire blitz is designed around, okay, you think this blitz may be coming from the left, but it's really coming from the right. And if you think you're going to be able to hit that hot right behind the blitzer, you're fooled because that safety might drop, or a defensive lineman, you know, one of the 4-eye might drop out and cover that gap or something like that, right? Bill says it also falls on players as well. We do good for a wild card divisional round and completely choking the AFC round divisional round. Leonard has to attack quarterbacks and not be like McDummy. After getting a lead, going back to soft zone prevent defense. For sure. But back to Deone Walker. The way that they've been treating this man, based on what I'm hearing, he's been treated like a star. He's been treated like a star in that building. And he truly hasn't earned it yet. Yes, Steve Lynn is a member. That's right. Clap that thing up. Congratulate my man. He made it. But yeah, and here's the thing about that. I got confirmation finally that Deone Walker does not want to play the nose. He doesn't want to play the nose. Like, I got confirmation on that already. So exactly what I was telling you was the case, that he doesn't want to play that. It's confirmed now, right? I'm telling you through people connected to Deone Walker. Like, I'm telling you, as sure as I am in front of you here today, Deone Walker does not want to play the nose. He said as much. But he'll do it because of his temperament, which brings me to the final piece of everything that I've laid out before you right now. Brandon Beane's statements, type of coaches they hire, Deone Walker and his statement, how they're treating Deone Walker. For this regime, this front office, it is literally all about temperament, player and coach temperament. They want people who are going to be pliable and able to be molded or put into positions where, even though they're not uncomfortable, they'll do it because we ask them to do it. They'll do it because we make it seem like the right cultural thing to do. You don't want to let your teammates down. You don't want to go against the franchise that drafted you and believed in you. You don't want to do anything that hurts the team's ability to win. So you'll do what the coaches ask you because you're a team guy. You're not about self. You're about team. You're about ball. You love ball. That's what they count on. That's why they draft these players. Imagine trying to take Ed Oliver and put him at nose. Do you honestly think, with as vocal as Ed Oliver's been lately, with the type of person and personality that Ed Oliver is, do you really think that he would sit there in private at a chair and just let Brandon Beane walk into the door? Hey, what's going on, Ed? How you doing, man? And then sit down right in front of Ed and say, so Ed, we've been thinking, man, we want you to play nose tackle for us, and you're going to two-gap it, you know what I'm saying? And that's going to free up Deone to kind of get around guys, and TJ Sanders is going to be able to use his speed to get around guys and whatnot. And, we truly believe this is going to be the best way for you to help us out and help us win games. Now, Ed Oliver will say, hey, I did it in college. I did it in college. But dog, I just had bicep surgery and you want me to play nose and two gapping? You out of your mind? Like, all of this comes down to, we want to make sure, and when I say we, I mean the Bills front office, you know, we want to make sure that we are able to keep the status quo of, in their minds, good salary cap management, good drafting, and an even better culture. Why? Because Terry loves that. And if I want to keep my job, I got to keep Terry happy. That's the only way that I'm going to be allowed to continue to do what I'm doing here, even if we don't win a Super Bowl. That's the only way. Think about that for a second. Bills fans, and there's one Bills fan in particular that continues to say this. We have a good team. We have a good team. Well, we're a good team. We win all these games. Okay, great. If it was about being a good team, the Bills won the Super Bowl already. Give them all their rings, give them the trophies, give them whatever you want to give them. Kiss their feet, bow to them, whatever you want to do. If it was about being a good team, sure. But if the idea is to do what all other 31 teams are trying to do every single year they put the ball down to play, then I think it's more about that silver trophy there and the little rings they give you afterwards that say world champion on it. Not being a good team. Players don't come into the NFL to be on a good team. That's not the end game. You come into this thing to win championships and win rings and put your name in the storybooks of the NFL story and what gets told year after year after year. That's why I asked the question I did on the podcast. How many of these Bills players are going to have their names in the storybooks or in the record books or have any kind of statistics nearly compared to the Hall of Fame guys that we had in the 90s? Name me more than 5. By the time it's all said and done, name me more than 5, and I bet you will struggle to get to 4. Josh Allen, James Cook. Who's your third? It's not about being a good team. Like, we gotta stop translating what I say into the team is bad or these players suck or whatever else my words or Key's words gets interpreted into or translated into. DeMar, put the blunt down, my boy. Put that thing down. I know you joking. I got you. Dorothy will say cornerback. You're right. She don't talk about her son. Don't talk about Christian Benford, boy. Look, Christian Benford statistically is not even on the level with Nate Clements. Go look up the numbers. He's not. Bill says Allen is by far the Bills' best player. He's already on pace for beating Jim Kelly's records this season on many categories without making 4 Super Bowl appearances. True. Doesn't that make it even more egregious that this team has not done anything relative to? Think about what the Patriots just did. They make it to a Super Bowl, drop their best receiver. Let him go. I get he was having court cases, whatever the case was. If he was still under contract, the team wouldn't have let him go. But they said, we can go get a guy that can be as good as Diggs, maybe better with time, in Romeo Doubs, who's a guy that I compared to Stephon Diggs that I wanted here at the beginning of free agency. I said that. They went and got Romeo Doubs. Then they said, that's not enough. It's good. It's good. We've taken care of the whole Stephon Diggs hole that he left here. Because remember, we still got Kayshon Boutte. So if we keep Kayshon Boutte and we got Romeo Doubs, that's not a bad 1-2 punch. Still got Mac Hollins, still drafted some boys. we might have a little nice pool of receivers here that we can put together and maybe see how this works out, right? But they said that's not enough. They then went on to trade for A.J. Brown. Now, for those of you who like A.J. Brown, this was a great move. For those of you that don't like A.J. Brown, it doesn't matter. Because they said Romeo Doubs and everybody else that we got in this wide receiver room is good, but we want to be better than good. We want to do what the Rams did last year and say Puka Nacua is good, but you know what would be even better? Having more than one Puka Nacua on the team. Let's try that. We saw the Eagles get to 2 Super Bowls with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. We saw the Bengals get to a Super Bowl with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So guess what? It might be possible to be great and get to Super Bowls with 2 wide receivers that would be considered, top tier or number 1 receivers in a sense. It's possible. It's possible. Just maybe. Right? What did the Bills do? We got DJ Moore. We really like Khalil Shakir. And we still believe in Keon Cole. That's it. That's it. That's all we need to do. That's it. That's it. Do more? What? Why? Now, I could be wrong. The Bills could go and get Stephon Diggs. I mean, there's other receivers that are out there available for trade. I'm hearing George Pickens might be on the move. I'm hearing like there's guys that are out there to be had if you really want. Right, Bill. Right. More, please. Exactly. Like when has never mind. I'm gonna stay away from that point. I think what I'm really trying to get down to here. Senke says the organization views Shakir as one all 31 other teams at best 3. Yeah, they see Shakir as a 1. They do in their mind. Which again, the only team that we have seen consistently win championships with their slot receiver being their best receiver is the Patriots. I'll wait for anybody who's willing to give me, but we have Jermaine Burton. Yeah. I'm almost at the point where I'm just like, he'll be lucky to make the team. I think he's another Chase Claypool, to be honest. I hope he makes the team, but this regime has never been in the business of rehabilitating guys to that degree. And I think the whole point behind that is if they bring in a player like Jermaine Burton and he's still the same old Jermaine Burton, then he gets cut. But if he comes in and personality-wise Jermaine Burton turns into Christian Benford, then yeah, I think the Bills would absolutely give him a shot. But Jermaine Burton ain't finna do all that. Jermaine Burton, those of you who have seen Jermaine Burton, scouted him, know about him, he ain't finna come here and do all that. But I digress. Bill says Shakir is JSN, just Brady and coaching staff use him completely wrong. Yeah. Like I said, name one other team other than the Patriots that has won championships with their slot receiver being their best receiver. Keon is still young. Yeah. Taylor Rapp got here and got worse. Yeah. The Giants did it with Victor Cruz. You sure about that? They got to a Super Bowl with Victor Cruz? I'm asking. I'm not entirely sure. I love the Giants, but the last time they won a Super Bowl was, oh man, last time they won a Super. So the only 2 times that I've seen them win a Super Bowl was against Patriots. But the Plaxico Burress touchdown was the first one with the go-ahead touchdown, and then was it Mario Manningham with the sideline catches deep down the field? In 2011. Okay, he was on that team. Okay. All right. Yeah, in a sense, Victor Cruz is okay. I'll give you that, 100%. But what were Victor Cruz's stats in that game? Because we can pull up Deion Branch, we can pull up Wes Welker, we can pull up Julian Edelman. Some boys ball. And I'm not really trying to argue about whether or not Victor Cruz is valid. He's definitely valid. I like the salsa dance and all that. Love Victor Cruz. And thank you for answering the question. Cruz scored a touchdown Super Bowl. Okay, cool. I'm with you on that. But that's how long ago it's been. It's 2026. You're talking about 15 years. 15 years. Aside from the Patriots doing it. 15 years. I mean, give me like, okay, let's really ask this question. All right. And then I think that's about all. I'm gonna ask this question and then we can start to close up shop. Okay. How long were the Rams bad for? I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here. I'm simply asking a question. How long were the Rams bad for? 1 year. 1 year. Thank you, Bill. 1 season. They were bad for 1 season, and they got good again. If you really want to look at it like this, the last 2 seasons, they were 1 game away from the NFC Championship, and then last year they were in the NFC Championship. Okay? They are 3 years removed from that bad year. In 2026, they are 3 years removed from that bad year. The year before that, they won a Super Bowl. How hard is it to do what they did? We've seen other teams do it. We saw the Patriots go 10-6 with Matt Castle and come right back the next season and be great. I think they were 12-4 the next season. Like, there's so many examples in history of teams being good, doing what it takes to win, being bad, then getting right back up. The Eagles have been to 4 Super Bowls in a 6-year span. And if you include the home run, I'm including the home run throwback. 3 times in a span of 5 years. And they won 2. It's not hard. It's not hard. And part of the reason why Keys and I have been making such a big deal about all of this is the time that we just went through, that 22, 23, 24, and 25 years. We're going to look back at that time and we're going to kick ourselves, because that was the easiest time that this AFC is going to have had as compared to the next 5. Right? When you look at these young quarterbacks that are coming into the AFC, when you look at these defenses that are being built in the AFC, when you look at these coaches that are coming into the AFC now, these owners in the AFC ain't playing. They want one. And they're willing to do what it takes to go through us to get it. And instead of being focused on that and having a sense of urgency about that, we want to just status quo. We just want to do, I butcher Njigba's name. I do? What do I say? D says, you heard Bean say he doesn't want to be that bad to get good players. He liked the cruise ship, steady and slow. Yeah. That's what I'm basing this off of. Bill says, Bill's front office wasting Allen's prime, worrying about being competitors over dominators. And I'm telling you, like, again, if you take anything from all the cases that I've made today and all the news and everything I put together, is this front office is not about the fans. This front office is about its business. This front office is about its brand. I'm telling you right now, the reason you go and get low risk, high reward players is to keep that line on a steady curve up. That's it. You already have the thing that guarantees you a playoff berth, which is Josh Allen. You don't have to do much after that. You're not going to really see this general manager have to work for maybe another 5 years. By the time Josh Allen is 35, like we will have been through so much football at that point in time of status quo football. We may be sick of it by then, because it'll be, towards the end of Josh Allen's career, and he's not the playmaker that he used to be. But by the time we get to that point, there's going to be a whole nother generation of Bills fans that are going to be ingrained in this. No, don't get rid of Brandon Beane. He's the only general manager we know, and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's what this is going to turn into. In the same way that it was that when Sean McDermott was a head coach. It is hilarious how many people did not want Sean McDermott fired, and then he gets fired, and then the general manager tells everybody he's a bad guy, and now all of a sudden, F McDermott, he was the problem the whole time. He's this, he that. Like, it is mind-boggling watching and trying to understand fan things. And maybe that's my problem. I've already run the numbers. I did the test with all of you on the show, live. I am a big-time fan. My test proved it. My scores proved it. So, it's what it is I expect better. I watch my children play sports, and my son had a great game today. He scored a goal. He played great defense. He played soccer. He scored a goal. He plays defense. He's one of the better players on his team. But am I still going to get him up and go to the park and practice and do drills with him and all that kind of stuff? Yeah, you better believe. Because even though he's a kid and even though he's playing a sport that he loves, he wants to be good at it because that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it fun. See, I think Bills fans nowadays are drawing fun from the community and not the product. When you think about it, it's more fun to tailgate and be part of a community that roots for the Bills to win games than it is to be the type of fan that I am that is tired of close but no cigar and wants a Super Bowl. J-Ham, what up, what up? It's so much easier to just enjoy the ride and enjoy being good for once, because 17 years of bad luck and bad decision making and bad teams and bad coaches and bad general managers and bad players. It's so much easier to root for this. It is. And what's sad about that is they're at a point now where Bills fans, they say they care about winning a championship, but that's only if we were in a Super Bowl. When the season starts, yeah, let's get to the Super Bowl, let's win it, let's blah, blah, blah. But every single season, what happens? Why didn't we win it? Well, we didn't win it because the defense, and we didn't win it because this, and we didn't win it because that. Well, all right, we'll just hope for better next year. We'll keep trusting these guys. Why? Because through marketing, Brandon Beane has established his authority. Terry Pegula has established his authority. Because of the positions they hold, you're programmed already. And this is in marketing 101. You can look this up. I actually had the very cool opportunity to talk to a guy who's a teacher at University of Buffalo. He teaches marketing. And we talked about this exact thing. Because these guys hold the positions that they do, the majority of people assume or absorb their authority. They accept their authority because they're in that position. They don't question whether or not their decision making is sound or valid because they got the position. You assume it's the equivalent of hearing that I don't know, a judge that's in office right now may not be the smartest person in the world. Like, you would think, like, in order to be a judge, you should be pretty smart. You should have an ability to choose right from wrong, or delineate, lies from truth, or to be able to discern, what people truly mean when they say certain things. Why does that have to be true? Does nepotism exist? If nepotism exists, let's just follow the logic here. If nepotism exists, then there's always going to be an opening for people to get in without the right qualifications. That's just the name of the game. And nepotism doesn't even cover it, because that doesn't even cover, oh, that's my friend, I know him, I trust him, I've known him my whole life. Yeah, give him a job. Is he qualified for the job? Yeah, no, I'll train him. It's no big deal. He knows enough. He's been around me, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then the question becomes, is he better qualified than the people that are with him in the running for that job? That's right where it starts to get really quiet. That's where it starts to get quiet. Steve says it's called chosen ignorance. You have to hold on to what you know and ignore what reveals it to be false and damaging, because exposing the truth destroys personal identity. It's similar to Stockholm syndrome. That's right. And I was about to go there. Thank you for giving me that, because that's really what this boils down to. One of the reasons we did that test about how much of a fan you are is to kind of show that your fandom is an identity you take on. I'm gonna say that again. Your fandom is an identity you take on. It's not a gift given to you. It is not something that just happens. You assume an identity of, I identify with this team, I cheer for this team, I am a fan of this team. What does that do? That gives you entry into the community of Bills fans. Now you are a part of a group that is all singularly focused on one thing, which is the success of the team that you're identifying with as a fan. That's how it works. Now, in marketing, a marketer's job is to get you to identify with that product or service. Once you identify with that product or service through the similarities that you share, whether it be similar goals, whether it be similar desires in life, whether it be similar politics, whatever the case may be, once it identifies the similarities between you and the product, it's very easy to get you to bond with it. Once that bond process has taken place and you identify, you don't even know what type of jail you're in. Because here's how deep it gets. Think about what Neo went through in the Matrix when he was told for the first time that his reality is not even the real reality. That thought process of not being able to think clearly, to barely being able to breathe, to feeling like this is too much, I need to sit down, no, shut up, stop talking to me, get away from me. Like, you could see the panic building up. Why? Because when the human psyche is pushed to a place where it no longer understands who it is or who I am, that disrupts and that kind of destroys my politics, my train of thought in terms of what my desires are, my will in terms of what I want to do, what I can do, what I should do, my emotions in terms of what I feel, why I feel it. All of that stuff is ingrained in my identity. And if somebody can get me to change my identity and get me to accept and believe that I am now assimilated into this new identity, anything that challenges or comes against that and starts to, cause some cracks in that wall, some shifts and stuff like that, that creates two things. It creates pain, which in turn creates anger. Now, you can go and study psychology and see where I'm getting all this from, but anger is a secondary reaction to a circumstance. Anger comes from pain. Okay, anger in itself is not an initial reactionary process when you study psychology. Okay, so the reason you get the lash out or the pushback from fans that are Bills Mafians, or even the Bean Islanders, or like the reason you get the pushback from those folk is you're challenging their identity. You're challenging that which they've identified with, and therefore challenging who they are deep down inside. Anytime you put somebody in that kind of position, you're going to see a feral rage, because that is the reaction to not understanding how to process or accept the information you're being given in a way that allows you to still feel like you are yourself. That's what people have been dealing with this entire time, listening to me. You hear me talk and you think, well, he can't be right because this team is good. They win 10 plus games every season. They make the playoffs every season. Like, I wouldn't be cheering for a bad team because I'm not that type of person. I don't cheer for losers. And, I still believe in this team. And if I was to accept what he said, that would mean that I'm a pessimist and I think the Bills are going to lose this season. When the reality of it is, I never said any of that. If you can listen with clarity, if you can listen to understand and not to argue, then you would clearly hear that the point that I'm trying to make is my words, my points, my drive for this show is to challenge people's thought processes and get them to be a little bit more objective about their identity. That's really all it is. And for a fan who's assumed a fanatical identity, to be objective almost forces that person. It's necessitated, but it almost forces that person to have to put that current identity on hold, to then try to take a step away from it, to then take an agnostic perspective on. And when I say agnostic, I mean just kind of different, because the Greek interpretation, or the Greek translation of agnostic, is just seeing things from a distance, rather, right? That's the definition of agnostic. It's just seeing things from a distance. To be able to take an agnostic look at themselves and assess, is this really right? It feels good. Everybody else around me says it's good, but I got somebody over here that is very confident in what they're saying, and some of the things make sense to me. Some of the things kind of don't make sense to me. But if some of it makes sense, then isn't it possible that it all makes sense? And if me, Aramis, personally is being objective in that same thought process, somebody also has to think, well, if some of it is acceptable and makes sense, and then all of it should, and also none of it should. Right? From an objective psychological standpoint, if something makes enough sense to make you think that all of it could be true, you could just as well turn the other thought process around and say, well, if some of it doesn't make sense, then there could be a possibility that none of it is true, right? So that's the true objective philosophical standpoint. And that's really where I try to operate in, from a, like the way that I process what I see this Bills team do. And that allows me to not get too high, not get too low. During the games, like my wife would tell you, like before I started doing the podcast, I used to get so mad you couldn't talk to me for days. Especially that same day. Like, don't, you ain't got nothing to say to me. Leave me alone. Give me a minute. Like, just give me a minute. I'm not getting up from the couch. I'm not like, I would get so mad. And being able to do this research now and process these things the way that I do, to me, it makes the most sense. It doesn't have to everybody, but objectively speaking, if you're not willing to challenge your own thought and accept the reality you arrive at after that challenge, after truly thoroughly going through your thought process and lining it up against the facts and lining it up against the history that exists, I'm not really sure if you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're probably doing the people that agree with you, or the people that are around you, a disservice too. That's just how I feel about it. No, you know, I don't even smoke. Never have. Keys has got me to drink some beers, which for the longest period of time I would never touch. You know, I'll do a Long Island here or there, or you know, Blue Hawaiian or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Because like to me, it's got to taste good. You know, if I'm gonna drink alcohol, it's got to taste good. But other than that, I don't know. I don't know. Like I never really had a desire for it. Steve says, hold on a second. Trusty dusty mouse over here. Steve said it's why Buffalo fans hate. I hope I'm saying this right. Ikale. Ikale, a talent that had the option to leave a loser team and organization that was wasting time to be a champion. Oh, you might be talking about Garrett. If I got that right. He holds a mirror to the mediocre who can't leave / succeed. I did see earlier today, Denzel Ward has said he wants to stay with the Browns. That could be related to a few things. I would love to have a talent like Denzel Ward here. If there was some way to make that happen, I would hope that the Bills would do it. But from what Brandon Beane was saying when he was on One Bills Live, it seems like they're set with who they have. And here's the other thing too. I know I've talked about, you know, Stephon Diggs coming back, but knowing the sociology and the philosophy of the front office there, Maddie Glab is on One Bills Live now. She's in their media consistently, and the only reason why she had to take a step back was because of what she said about Stephon Diggs. And if he comes back, she'll probably have to take a step back if they don't, you know, squash things. But I don't think she would be, you know, kind of at the forefront, which is where they like her to be, if Diggs came back. So I'm kind of thinking from here on out, probably not going to see Diggs here. I think the Bills are set on what they got. You know, Keys made a great point on Monday. $10 million in cap space, but that's only the top 51. Not a lot of moves left. Really not. We'll do some comments here. If you guys have any questions for me before we get out of here, I don't want to go past 6:30. Oh, wow. Marcus, thank you. I appreciate that, man. Get to your comment here. It says, it's amazing if fan bases get on here and try to tell us about our team when they team's been bottom feeders for over a decade and counting. I hope you're not talking about my boy D. I mean, I don't think he's ever been like that here, and you might not be talking about him. It could be other people. But I appreciate the support. So send us some support. My G, keep blessing us with the great content, and go Bills. Yes, sir. Go Bills. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Steve says, cheering for not good enough to win over elite. Our loser mentality, really hoping that their lack will win will win one day. It's those who hold on to the nice guys finish first philosophy. Hope is profitable. For sure. I'll give you a real life example. People who go to counseling. I've gone to counseling. I've never been in therapy. But I can tell you this. Going to counseling, the design of counselors are to get you to express your feelings, to ask you questions about your feelings, to explore your feelings, and after that, kind of let you arrive at your own conclusions. And that process is designed to kind of allow you to ventilate, allow you to process, and allow you to arrive at your own conclusions. And I think I was paying $125 a pop. Therapists are a lot higher cost, but the success rate of therapists is also much higher than it is with counselors. Right? With a therapist, you're able to truly get down to the root issues that you face as a person, whether it be mentally, physically, socially, whatever, right? And the reason I'm bringing this up is it's the difference between good and great, right? Good is going to make you feel good, whereas getting something better than good is going to make you experience something better than good. The problem here is the person in authority has straight up told everybody that it is better to have good than to risk good to go after great. I'll say that again before I get out of here. The person in charge has already told everybody on several occasions now, including this season, that it is better to stay with good than to risk good chasing better or chasing greatness. It's the whole reason he said, I'm not going to be desperate and go all out, for winning a championship one season and have to be bad after that. That's where that whole thought process comes from. He's programmed all of you without actually saying he's programming all of you, or without you feeling like you've been programmed. In his mind, why take the risk when you're already good? Why can't you just continue to be good and maybe the dam will break one of these seasons? I mean, hell, look at what the Knicks did, right? The dam broke for them. Not really realizing that the Knicks, after a while, had to kind of go back to the drawing board, do their homework, figure out how to build a locker room with chemistry, figure out who the right superstar for their team was, figure out how to put the right pieces around that player, and then put the right guy in position at coach to lead those guys into battle. That matters more than anything else. And the success that they're enjoying right now, they have not lost a game in over a month. They haven't lost a game in the playoffs, period. Like, what are we talking about right now? Like, that's the equivalent of us winning the last 10 games of the season and making it all the way to a Super Bowl. That's the equivalent of what the Knicks are doing right now. Like, just win, like what the Sabres did. Going from worst to first. Winning the division convincingly. The Bills have not even won the AFC yet. We won the AFC several times. A few times have been in convincing fashion. But when the Sabres did it, there was a lot of good teams in their division with them that they beat out. Tampa Bay, right? They were ahead of the Hurricanes. I don't know hockey well enough to know if the Hurricanes are even in the same division. I assume they are. But my point is, the level of success that you've seen the Bills have has been in the face of mediocrity around them. And now when all of these teams are starting to get better, now all of a sudden, we don't look so good on the field no more. It's not a coincidence. Like, can we just stop trying to make this about whether or not the team is good or not? Can we make this about what the ultimate goal is? This is why I keep saying they hate us, but they really won't debate us. Not live. Like, they really won't stand on business live with me or Keys, because at the end of the day, the second I come up with the point of what's the whole game of football about in the NFL? Is it about being good and making it to the playoffs, or is it about Super Bowls? The second they answer that question, their whole entire argument is over. It's over. What you gonna say? Well, yeah, it's about championships, but we're still a good team and we can win one. My dude, have we won one though? $6:26. Told you I'm gonna be out of here by 6:30. Marcus got a quick question. Says, do you feel comfortable saying our defense will be better off with Jim Leonard at the helm with a more aggressive system instead of McDermott and his BS scheme that he ran? I think the most logical place that I can land when it comes to my expectation of this team is the quote that I gave you from Brandon Beane today. Because he told you exactly what he wants to do. His quote is, let's just find good football players and we'll get them in the right spots. He doesn't want to pigeonhole guys into 4-eye or the specific nose. He just wants to find good football players and get them in the right spots. When you think about what Sean McDermott had, did he have bad football players, or did he have guys that didn't really fit the system he wanted to run that well? And I think that's kind of what, like, if you process that and you arrive at the same conclusion I did, which is these guys would be good players on other teams. These guys would be productive players on other teams. Some of these guys, if they were used properly, would be really good players on other teams. But if the Bills front office themselves are not comfortable with giving that much power to a coach, and they want to be able to hold the status quo of, I'll draft them, you fix them. I'll draft them, you use them. If that's going to continue to be the mentality of, we're not going to, my dog's going nuts. Hey, chill out. Come here. There's nobody out there. If this mindset of let's just find good football players and we'll put them in the right place. Okay, cool. Let's play that out. What does that mean? Does that mean, in your mind, does that mean that Brandon Beane has to go and find the perfect 4-eye for this team? Does that mean that Brandon Beane has to go and find the perfect 3-tech for this team? Does that mean that Beane has to go and find the perfect boundary corner for this team? Or does that mean I can just continue to draft best player available? The coaches will put them in the right place. The coaches will make them look good. That's really what this is about. Unfortunately, my man Marcus, that's really what this is about. There's yet another guy in power that is full of himself, that wants to run the show his way and doesn't want it to change, doesn't want to give up that power, doesn't want anybody else to come into the mix to make him look bad. In his mind, he's made the Bills look this good for this long. He's the guy behind getting Josh Allen drafted here. And with all of that as a notch in his belt, he can do no wrong. And it's going to stay that way. So I say that to say, I don't think Brandon Beane is going to do what it takes to give Jim Leonard all of the best players that fit what Jim Leonard really likes to do. I think he'll do a good job of finding players that come close, a lot like how he did with Sean McDermott. He found players that came close to being the type of players that Sean McDermott had in Carolina. I mean, I think from an athletic standpoint, Tremaine Edmonds was pretty close to Luke Kuechly. Not up here, though. Physically, I think he was about on par with Luke Kuechly as far as speed, athleticism, ability to change direction, ability to tackle. Like he led the team in tackles like crazy. So we'll still see a lot of those type of guys, but they won't be. There won't be no superstars. We are hoping and praying that Cole Bishop turns into some kind of superstar here. We're hoping and praying that. The likelihood of that, with what this defense is going to be tasked to do against the Patriots, Sophie, chill out. Jeez. What this defense is going to be tasked to do against teams like the Patriots, who have two great receivers, against teams like the Bengals with two great receivers, against some of these other teams with great offenses, great running games. I mean, I'm seeing, I've just put in our Discord chat earlier, there's a rumor going around that the Ravens are one of the teams in on Stephon Diggs. Imagine Stephon Diggs going to that team with Zay Flowers. Come on, man. Come on. I gotta get out of here. Steve says, remember when men used to test their views and if a better view? Yo, they are literally finding anything that they can bark at right now. I don't understand what this is. Really? Right in the middle of my show? Right in the middle of my show. I should have put y'all in the crate. That's what I should have did. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Why? Thank you. Unbelievable. Okay. Remember when men used to test their views and if a better view was brought forth? Kid, can you come get them? No, don't come walking over to me. Don't come walking over to me. Hey. Let's try this one more time. Yeah, they don't like my football takes. Is that what it is, Sandra? Remember when men used to test their views and if a better view was brought forth, that view was adopted and tested, etc. before T levels, testosterone levels fell so low that any pushback is negative instead of intelligent. That's there's nothing but truth in that. Nothing but truth in that. You don't know what time, right? It's time to get up out of here. Yeah, no problem, Videsh. No problem at all. Cato says they messed up drafting Ed thinking they was gonna get Aaron Donald. Yeah, he's just saying that up and down the whole entire time. Like, it's what they think they're getting. It ain't gonna work out. But I do have to go. So I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I've just been playing the entire time. Sweet. So look, whatever questions you have, if you want to get a hold of us, our email is in the description of this video, and you know, I check it, you know, every other day at the very latest. You can ask your questions there. You can DM us. If you want to be able to talk to us on a more personal level, talk to me on a more personal level, you can get into our Discord chat. You just got to become a member. You get a month free, you know, to see if you like it, to see if you like the content and all that kind of stuff. After that, it's $2 a month. But with that being said, make sure you check out our merch page and make sure you look for us on Monday. We will be back with you guys live 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Got a lot of good stuff coming up now with that episode and some of the stuff that we talked about today. Sure Keys is gonna, you know, have a lot to say about this stuff too. So make sure you check it out. Hope you appreciate this. Again, before I get out of here, I'm making it clear this is going to be the last Post Podium Conversations that'll be public. After this, you got to be a member to see it. It's going to be membership content only. Right after, actually, I'm going to dinner today. And after dinner, I'm going to be recording episode 2 of our Madden series. Kind of rebooted it a little bit because it's a new Madden and it's a new roster and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to see that, you got to be a member too. And really, it's just all in the name of supporting the channel. Got some really great upcoming news with sponsors and stuff like that. So the show is really going to be taking some big time turns. So and all of that is you know, a big thanks to you guys. You've been supporting and commenting and liking and subscribing and doing all of the great things that, you know, let other people know that, you know, they should be paying attention. So couldn't have done this without you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Post Podium Conversations, and I have been your host, Aramis. Y'all have a great Saturday night. Peace.